Hello everyone and welcome to the script reading for NieR.
Pretty much. In the distance, Kainé heard the steady sounds of an axe striking wood. The noise had a purposeful quality to it, as if she was hearing a master woodsman go about his work. The firewood being produced, however, was as far from a work of art as could be. Pieces of every shape and size were being flung about a barren yard with wild abandon. Anyone trying to stack such wood would probably die of frustration before the job was through.
Sorry guys, the game was a bit rushed. Help,
Stupid piece of shit axe!
Send help.
Kainé's grandmother played away with the axe, filling the air with both splinters of wood and boards that will make the most hardened sailor blush.
I could figure something.
Grandma?
Called Kainé. It's for purpose narration, dude. Shut up.
What?
Yelled the old woman, taking her eyes off the wood for a moment.
Oh, it's you, Kainé.
The old woman thought she was Steve Austin for a second.
Don't get too close, or I might take your goddamn foot off by mistake.
Jesus, Granny, calm down.
I'm a badass granny, okay?
She brought the axe down on a piece of wood, sending chips flying in every direction. One spun past Kainé close enough for her to hear her whistle, at which point she decided to step back. Once she'd scuttled to a safe distance, she cupped her hands around her mouth and shouted,
Grandma, do you need help? I can get you water or lunch or a new axe, something.
The axe, poised to strike another wobbly blow, paused in midair. The old woman considered her granddaughter's offer for a moment, then smiled.
Tell you what, since I'm doing such a piss poor job of shopping, why don't you come here and take over so I can go get the water? Kids have been restless late, you know. I don't want you running into one of them bastards.
Relinquishing the axe, her grandmother picked up a long pole with wooden buckets on either hand. Gathering water was by far the more difficult of the two jobs, but Kainé knew better than to complain. Once Grandma's mind was set, there was no changing it. Kainé did her best to help with chores, but Grandma took every task that required travel to the village, so essentially she would not be bullied. Though she had a long list of plausible excuses, Kainé knew the real reason. She didn't want her granddaughter to be taunted and harassed by the villagers.
Yeah, we could put this.
Go ahead, Lucy.
We could put this audio on like
Audible.com. Yeah. Once Kainé moved in, Grandma decided to take up residence a good distance from the Aerie. Out of sight, out of mind seemed to be the best policy when it came to the villagers and granddaughter, and rare were the days when any but the two of them could be found on the rocky acre of land they called home. Kainé enjoyed the solitude, but harbored a secret resentment that her grandmother was forced to do. After watching her grandmother leave, Kainé turned her attention to the task at hand. She had never chopped wood before in her life, and soon discovered why the old woman hated the chore. Swing after swing of the axe produced only a tiny crack in the wood, and when she finally managed to connect with a solid stroke, the tool embedded itself in the log and refused to budge. It actually takes a bit of skill to chop wood. Go ahead, Shiroi.
Since we have to redo it anyway, we should do a dramatic reading of the Lightning Returns data logs.
Sure, why not?
The data logs in that game are useless though, so trust me, there's no need.
Oh, but Pedro,
totally
let's try
understood the
reading them
joy of her
dramatically.
grandmother felt in a
That
good
could actually be
person.
fun for
There
us
you
and
go.
the audience.
She's learning how to swear by frustration alone.
Oh, boy.
Happier now, she picked up the axe, forced it from the wood, and resumed chopping. She had a natural skill with a blade, but the task was challenging, and blisters soon began to form on her small pink hands.
Kainé,
Stress
just
does
swear.
invoke swearing. Just swear.
This is tough, and my logs are all weird sizes.
Spitting on her palms and enduring the pain, Kainé redoubled her efforts. Just as she was developing a rhythm, Grandma returned from the village. Setting down her buckets with a small sigh, she took one look at the logs and coughed out a wheezy laugh.
Very clumsy girl. You better practice if you...
Her grandmother suddenly collapsed to her knees, causing one of the buckets to wobble precariously. Eyes wide, Kainé dropped the axe and ran to her grandmother's side, music stopping.
Grandma.
The old woman shook her head and pointed a trembling finger at the bucket.
Get the bucket. Bill.
Kainé steadied the bucket with a foot as she knelt by her grandmother. A small bit of water sloshed over the side and made a new home in the hem of her dress, but Kainé didn't notice.
Grandma, what's happening?
Crazed with panic, she grabbed her grandmother by the shoulder and shook. After a moment, the woman lifted her arms and batted Kainé away.
Stop that. Stop now.
She cried, breathing evilly. Oh no, he's old back again, Jesus.
She's gonna talk non-stop.
It ain't like I'm dying. Wink,
Oh
wink.
god.
Just tired from the trip is all.
Well, she's still an old person, so... Kainé desperately wanted to believe her, but one look at the old woman shaking hands and worn face told her more than words ever could. Her grandmother had lived a long, hard life, and it seemed the bill was coming due. With Parkinson, apparently. Time when her grandmother watched over Kainé was ending. Sooner than either of them had feared, the position would be reversed. The next morning, Kainé came to the side of her grandmother's bed and took her wrinkled hand.
Grandma, you're sick and you need medicine. I'm going to the village.
The old woman shook her head and tried to rise, but Kainé gently pushed her down.
It's alright.
She said.
I'll be fine.
Now, I'm imagining Wendy Oldback as her grandmother.
Her grandmother fixed her with a gaze that could melt steel. So she's not jet fuel. After what seemed an eternity, she finally lowered her eyes and sighed.
No, I don't like it, goddammit.
I don't think Kainé likes it either.
But I guess I should quit being so stubborn and let you grow up.
The old woman watched as Kainé strapped on her boots and made her way down to the road to the village. Hours later, as an unseen sun made its way across a dark and rainy sky, she was still watching. Kainé moved at a brisk pace, checking her pockets every few minutes to make sure the money her grandmother gave her was still there. Shouldn't be where still there? Whatever. Every noise caused her to spin on her heels, making sure she wasn't being stalked by a shade, or worse, Dive-Runner's gang. Oh, okay. But she encountered neither tormentors nor shades, and Kainé finally found herself at the entrance to the village. The few adults she could see glanced sideways at her, then muttered to each other behind raised hands before slinking away into the shadows. Her heart racing, Kainé took a series of rapid, shallow breaths and tried to calm herself. So agoraphobia, let's add that to the mix.
Oh boy.
But you can blame the people for that.
Yeah, it's due to traumatic experiences.
I had to prove myself. I had to help Grandma. I have to be strong.
She chanted those words to herself over and over as she slowly made her way.
I can show you the way.
Finally, her eyes settled on a rotund older woman who was angrily waving her arms in the air and telling anyone who would listen exactly what she thought of Kainé's presence.
Rude.
Hey lady,
Said Kainé with a bravado she did not feel.
where's the
Apothecary.
apothecary?
The woman's flabby cheeks shook in bewildered anger.
Oh, most unorthodox.
Yeah, Joey will be here, might as well.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
It's the Italic
there,
one.
this.
Whatever, they seem
Well,
to
there
say.
this thing speak to me. They seem to.
But whatever. The thing is, she felt she was fearing she would have been attacked, but surprisingly, she just pointed a small building to her right before hitching up her dress and stumbling off in the other direction. Most unorthodox. Kinda cringed, expecting a stone to come flying from the assembled crowd, but no one came. Her mind was filled with a strange sense of pride as she made her way to the apothecary, but the new emotion had little time to take root. For as soon as she opened the door, she noticed a familiar customer. It was Daimo.
It's pleb.
It clearly been sent here on some kind of family errand because his gang of followers was nowhere to be found.
Aaron.
Oh my god, he sputtered. What are you doing here, freak?
He's bricking it, isn't he?
The insult was delivered without force, and Kainé happily ignored it. Stretching on tiptoes to see over her counter, she asked the shopkeeper for the medication. Ha! Marked Daimo. That old bitch finally keeled over.
Go to hell, Demo.
The boy's eyes grew so wide they seemed ready to fall out of his head. But before he could let fly a comeback, or worse, a punch, the apothecary told them to knock it off before he kicked them out of the store.
Well, at least
Daimo-
one adult is taking charge of a situation around here.
Probably, yeah. Daimo was like out of the shop, cursing Kainé under his breath. Once he was gone, she allowed herself to breathe once more, taking a brief tour of the shop while the owner prepared her medication. Countless tiny bottles filled the cramped store, each with a label written in some indecipherable language. An ocean of aromas assaulted her nose, creating a scent that was exotic but altogether unpleasant. Seeing such a variety of supplies gave Kainé a sense of peace.
Well, medication is always full of a wall of text, so it's
Yeah.
good.
On the far wall behind the counter rested a portrait of a stunning young girl. The picture had one contained bright, vibrant colors, but time had worked its magic and they were beginning to fade. The beauty of the work, however, remained undiminished. You'll be this one, Dweebs.
You like that picture?
Kainé turned to find the apothecary with a small vial of medicine in his hand. His eyes were gentle but sad, and they seemed to say something.
That's my
Dude.
daughter. I sketched it when she was just a little girl. Been done a long time now.
Oh.
Kainé didn't know how to respond. She just stared at the portrait and tried to come up with something,
Pictures are wonderful things.
continued the shopkeeper.
They let the ones closest to you live on forever.
He shook his head slightly, then looked down at Kainé and smiled. Handing her the medicine, he reached into his sizable green apron and produced a handle of old wax crayons.
You should have these. There's none left that I wish to draw. I take these pills every time.
Kainé took an instinctive step back, causing the something to fall.
Yeah, heard the rumors about you.
He said,
It's a small village, and word travels quickly. Between you and me, I'm not sure what's in the believe. I also don't think they matter much.
Thank
Wow.
you.
Someone who's
There is
actually
a nice
decent
person.
in Aerie.
Even if he's eating sweets. I knew your grandmother, Kali. And I think the way she was driven out of this town is just deplorable.
Grandma's name is Ali.
Thought Kainé suddenly. She never bothered to ask.
The Great Kali.
She was still mulling this new fact over in her mind as she reached out and gently took the crayons from the apothecary's hands.
The grandmother's no friend of mine,
He said as Kainé scooted away yet again.
and I owe her much. And one of the ways that you'd like it if you drew a picture of her. Yeah, I think you like that very much.
Kainé murmured a quiet agreement, but inside her heart was bursting. Never before had a villager treated her with anything but complete contempt.
He's gonna die,
was
isn't he?
It was
Yeah.
a tiny, almost imperceptible step, but it was a step nonetheless, and with enough whatever. When Kainé returned home, she found her grandmother asleep in her bed. Her feet were blackened and raw, even bleeding a bit in places, leading Kainé to think that she had been pacing around the room until exhaustion finally caught up with her. She placed the medicine by her grandmother's pillow and turned to leave, but found the old woman's hand clasped on her arm,
Back already, are you?
asked their grandmother with a yawn.
Come here. Have a look at.
Grandma sat up and examined Kainé from head to toe. Finally satisfied that nothing terrible had befallen her grandchild, she leaned back and allowed herself to relax.
Oh, how was it? Did those bastards give you any trouble? It was kind of fun.
Said Kainé with a small smile.
Seriously, it was. No, seriously. It was fun, was it?
Asked her grandmother in a voice which implied she believed anything but.
Uh-huh. So anytime you need me to run an errand, just let me know.
As she spoke, Kainé removed the crayons from her pocket. After a brief explanation of her source, she informed her grandmother she was going to sketch her portrait.
Portrait of me? Ridiculous. Let's just stare at a wrinkled old crown. But Grandma, it'll make you live forever.
Yeah.
Horse manure!
Said her grandmother, throwing back the sheet from her bed.
Living forever would just piss me off. Now put those screens away and help with dinner.
Practicality.
Yeesh.
But Kainé would not relent, and in the end, Grandma found herself leaning against the wall of her house as if posing for a master artist. Kainé took up the crayons and eyed her subject carefully. Just as her grandmother was about to nod off, Kainé finished her work. After staring at it for a bit, she released it from her grip and let it slowly drift to the floor.
It's terrible. It doesn't look like you at all.
Well,
Oops.
you are a child, and
Oh, sorry, Grandma. These crowns would, make drawing easier or something.
oh,
Oh boy, honey.
The old woman's eyes narrowed at her granddaughter's disappointment.
Maybe the judge.
She said, ignoring the pain in her back and reaching for the paper. The sketch could have been a person's face. It could have been a boulder, a lump of clay, or an incredibly misshapen loaf of bread, all rendered in a chaotic array of colors. We call that postmodern, abstractism. The old woman stared at the picture for a long time, then slowly wheezed out a laugh.
Oh, Kainé.
She said between laughter.
You truly are my blood. You're as clumsy as me. I love it.
Ha 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 ha.
But... hush. I don't need any more bull for how ugly you think it is. Came from the heart and I'll treasure it always.
Aww. True to her word, the old woman gave the picture a place of honor above the kitchen table.
oh, no fridges.
In the day that followed, Kainé would often catch her staring at the portrait with a strange smile on her face, an action she interpreted as silent mocking laughter. A week later, Kainé could stand it no more and asked her grandmother to take the artwork down.
Hush.
Said the old woman.
I'll take this down when they roll me in my shroud.
She pondered this for a bit, then turned to Kainé and dropped it to one knee.
Will you marry? No.
Dweebs.
Listen to me, girl.
Get that out.
Seeing this picture makes me happy in a way I've never felt before. It makes me want to go on, so that someday you can feel the same happiness. Unfortunately, we live in a Yoko Taro game, so that will never happen.
It was a moment that burned itself in Kainé's memory, a perfect blend of pride and love and joy that came together to form a lifelong remembrance. She swore to never forget this moment, to never forget the old woman who had made her life a better place. Time moves on. People and memories come in and out of life like ghosts passing through a wall.
Oh, is that me? Oh,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
One will be different. This
Kainé's
one will be
war.
different.
Kainé's war.
Because I will remember it forever.
Separation.
And now not to make me happy, I'm gonna read a novel. Oh look, Anne of the Green Gables. Yeah, this will make me happier.
Anyway. Oh god.
How about
No.
Feliday?
Oh god. Kinda listen to
Anyway,
it,
yeah, no, it's essentially very near a firewood. Finally, she summoned her courage and gave the object a brief sniff. A sharp, bitter scent flew up her nostrils and made its home there, causing her face to twist with disgust.
Grandma, I can't believe you want me to eat a bug.
Cue the Hakuna Matata song. The old woman threw some more wood under the cooking pot.
What's the term, Jova?
Hakuna Matata.
No. The one that they use to explain why it's good to eat bugs. I forgot which term it. Something
Scrub.
but something.
Crunchy, yet slimy.
That's it. That's a crunchy but slimy. Why in the hell would I be feeding you bugs? Yeah, well, it sure looks like a bug.
said Kainé.
And I think it's burnt or something because it smells terrible. Hey, that's cooking, bitch.
That's
With that, Kainé held her nose and threw the berry in her mouth, chewing as little as possible. So there you go. Those berries of the forest of Myth, that's where she learned to eat.
There you go.
That explains her mannerisms so much.
Oh, well, all right. You little rat.
Laughed the old woman. Hey, it could be worse. Could be like Mad Max, where you're forced to eat dog food or lard.
Look at the sass on you. You've been spending too much time with me. And that's a fact.
5 years had passed since the moment when Kainé's grandmother saved her from the bullies. As is often the way with two stubborn people, their relationship had grown in fits and starts, but moved forward and was the same. Meals that used to be somber affairs were now filled with laughter and heard abuse in equal measure. Kainé could not remember a time when she had been happier.
Oh, nice.
As the years went by, Kainé started to shoulder more and more of the daily responsibilities, and grandmother's legs grew weaker by the day, and she could no longer do many of the chores she used to take for granted. And so this morning found Kainé lancing up her work boots with a breakfast of burned berry rolling through her belly.
Burnberry.
It's like a Pokemon game,
Yeah.
Where are you going today?
asked Grandma suddenly. Kainé looked up surprised. The old woman rarely asked for specifics anymore.
Well, I was gonna check out the helmet trees to see if they were ripe. Or we could make some jam or something. Oh, and I'm going to pick up some flagstones. I need to take the wheelbarrow. Flagstones? What the hell for?
Kainé stared at her grandmother, then held out an arm and swept it around her home. Constructed mostly of cloth, rope, and rubble, the old place sagged like a boxer in the final round.
Grandma, a dying cat could shoot through this house. I'm going to build a stone wall so we have some protection so that the wolf cannot blow our house down.
And rape our woman.
Cute.
The old woman laughed, exposing her toothless grin to the world.
Goddamn girl. If a bunch of thieves want to ransack this whole place, let them come. We got nothing worth stealing anyway. I don't worry about thieves. I'm worried about shade.
Oh.
People saw one west of the village yesterday. And they killed it. It's a good thing they're just monsters.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, right. The old woman tilted her head and started,
Well, shoot. I don't know why you had to do it today. Don't worry about it some other... Grandma, no! Oh, sorry. Never mind. If I don't go to the Kelma trees, you wouldn't eat tonight. You know that.
A confused expression passed across the old woman's face, and for a moment she was a small child lost at a carnival.
Dun 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 dun. Yeah. Yes.
She said after a bit.
Yes, of course you're right. I'm sorry, Kainé. Lately it seems my mind is...
She didn't finish the thought, instead walking over to her nightstand and gently taking the wreath of lunar tears from the drawer. The flower's petal had aged to a brilliant whiteness, and Kainé thought it was more beautiful now than the day she first received it.
Well, Shiro, this chapter is called Separation, so I'm just waiting for it. You're gonna be a true woman soon.
Grandma said as she placed the flowers in the girl's hair.
Kainé, you're a real woman.
So that means less of chat about shades and building defensive walls and more talk about how beautiful you've become.
Annoyed, Kainé reached up to remove the garland, but the look on her grandmother's face stopped her hand.
You're a beautiful thing.
Said the old woman.
This music
And
sounds
I-
like something you would hear at a funeral.
And
Remember, that's the day-
People like you in all the world.
Exactly.
Very proud of you.
That's part of the Shadow Lord's castle theme.
Okay, Grandma, that's enough goddamn compliments for one day. Jim, half on you. Where did that come from? Gee, I wonder.
Yes, drove as a person nearby.
I'll teach you to sass me, girl.
yelled
You're getting a
Grandma.
strap.
Well, you kind of did teach her to sass you. to be
Suddenly,
fair.
she lurched forward and grabbed Kainé by the ears, pulling her around the room with a crazed grin on her face.
Oh crap, she's gone mental.
Grandma.
Yelled Kainé in a quacking voice.
Quack, quack. Whatever. Grandma, stop. Whatever.
The old woman stared at her and blinked, then slowly held her wrinkled hands out, as if it was the first time she had ever seen them.
Oh, I don't know what happened there. I'm sorry, girl. Sometimes my mind just...
Kainé thought the look of her grandmother's face was the most heartbreaking thing she had ever seen.
Listen,
She began.
maybe I should stay home at all. After all. No, I want to have you stay here to keep an eye on an old codger like me. You get your fruit and your wall and I'll be fine. And when you come back, I'll have a nice grasshopper dinner waiting for you.
We're gonna have plenty of weeks to celebrate, Sonny.
Oh boy.
Kainé rolled her eyes, then kissed her grandmother on the forehead and made ready to depart, trying desperately to ignore the worry. Kainé could feel the old woman's eyes watching her as she moved down the path.
Turn around. Turn around.
She told herself, but in the end, the temptation was too great. She spun on her heel for one final look and saw a small, bent woman standing in front of her ramshackle hut with a sad expression on her face.
You look so old now. The wind could reach down and just carry her away.
Kainé worried about her grandfather all day, causing her work to suffer. What little fruit she could collect was tossed carelessly into the wheelbarrow, and she only found a couple of stones before losing interest in the project. Finally, as dusk approached, she decided to call it a day.
We like being alive. We like being alive. We like being
We like to be alone.
alive.
Cursing herself for the lack of focus, Kainé pushed the nearly empty wheelbarrow back down the path. As she crested the final hill, she suddenly froze in place. The wheelbarrow fell from her fingers and collapsed on its side, sending a few pieces of wrinkled brown fruit rolling back down the hill. Her gaze was transfixed by a thick black cloud that hovered just ahead. Tracing its path with a finger, Kainé suddenly felt her stomach knot in on itself.
Oh gods, no.
Her grandmother's house was ablaze, the flames licking up as if trying to touch the sky itself.
Uh-oh.
Oh, so she couldn't just die of natural causes? No, it's like, fine.
Hey, when you go, you gotta go all out.
Dun, dun, dun,
Dun,
dun,
dun, dun, dun, dun, dun, dun.
dun. Kainé ran them, faster than she had ever moved in her life. Once she tripped over a stone and went sprawling into rocky ground, but she leapt on her feet and continued running, unmindful of the blood that spilled from her wounded hands and knees.
That won't scar her at all, I'm sure.
Again. As she got closer and closer, Kainé's mind began to race in time with her footfalls.
Too dark. Too dark. Not just fire.
Too black. Too strong.
Can't be fire. Too much smoke. Gotta save her. Gotta save her.
Oh no, it's the Lin Kuei clan in attack. She burst into the front yard and came to a sudden halt, her worst suspicion confirmed. The smoke from the fire was mingling with the thick, inky blackness of an enormous shade. Which, in case you don't know, it's Hook, the one that we hunt down in the Aerie first.
Of
The big
course.
laser thing. The massive creature supported itself on 3 twisted feet, and achieved balance through means of a large armored tail. Scales, horns, and claws sprouted from its body in a random chaotic pattern, giving it the appearance of a lizard designed by some insane god.
So it really was a case of, you killed my grandmother, prepare to die.
And remember, her story arc at the beginning was of revenge.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing Kainé, it let out a roar and flicked its tail, sending a small whirlwind spinning around the yard. For a moment, the creature retreated into a shimmering, inky blackness, as if her mind was unable to comprehend that such a thing could actually exist. But when the smell hit her, a blend of rotten meat and excrement, and the horror became real once more. The creature bellowed again, and this time Kainé responded with a scream of her own.
Alright, you bastard.
She thought as their scream echoed of the high cliffs around them.
It's you or me. Let's go.
1v1 me, bitch. The shade eyed Kainé with bemused interest. Then it began looking from her to the house and back again, as if urging her to look at the deconstruction it had so gleefully wrought.
I wrecked your life. What?
Hey, check out the burning corpse of your grandmother. It's a really work of art.
With dread building in her heart, Kainé glanced towards the house. Through the smoke and flames, she spotted a small figure struggling to escape the ruins.
Grandma!
At the sound of her voice, the old woman began waving frantically,
She's alive.
thought
Holy
Kainé.
shit.
She's alive.
Kainé's legs sprang to life as she raced across the yard toward the flaming wreckage of the house. Before she could advance more than a few steps, the shade opened its mouth and let out a roar powerful enough to uproot trees and send them flying.
Yeah, that's right, the miracle never happened.
The blast sent Kainé tumbling through the air before smashing against the rocky earth. Stars danced in front of her eyes and she tried to remember how her legs worked. Fucking legs, how do they work?
Don't skip leg day.
Just ask Chun-Li, she knows how legs
Get
work.
up.
Yeah.
Get up now.
Come on, actually, yeah, come to think of it, you are voiced by Chun-Li. You should know how this works.
As Kainé struggled to her feet, the shade stomped toward the house and pinned her grandmother to the ground with the tip of a claw. The old woman struggled to move the claw from her stomach, but she might as well have been pushing a mountain. She called briefly, sending a small spray of blood into the air, then collapsed to the ground, her energy spent. Kainé lurched to her feet, only to fall back to earth with a gasp. Her ankles were on fire. One or both of them were surely broken. Ignoring the pain that screamed through her body, she began dragging herself across the ground, leaving a drunken trail of dust and blood in her wake.
Grandma, hold on. Just a little longer.
Her grandmother's face was turning blue, her eyes rolling black until only the whites were exposed. It's like Ganondorf at the end of Twilight Princess. Kainé pulled herself across the ground with maddening slowness, the distance seeming to increase with every second that passed. The shade glanced between the two women and flicked out its tongue, its giant mouth turning up at the corners. Short, panting breaths belched from somewhere deep inside its core.
Bastard. Laughing at us.
She had no idea how such of a mindless creature could experience emotion, but there could be no doubt that the shade was taking joy in her suffering. Yeah, fun fact, since we're human beings, a good chunk of the shade were also part of, the project gestalted onto pretty much evil people. I'll tell more about later.
Oh boy.
Bah, I get aroused by watching people die.
Hey, it's all I have.
Everyone has their fetish, I guess.
Hey, it's all I have left ever since everything about me got turned into a black inky mass.
Summoning all her strength, Kainé rose to her feet. There was a sickening snap from her right ankle as the foot twisted backward, but she forced it from her mind and began to hobble towards the monster. Pulling a small knife from her pouch at her waist, she leapt on the foot that pinned her grandmother and plunged the weapon deep.
Give her back.
She screamed.
Give her back to me.
No.
Well, then fuck you too.
It was like stabbing a rock. After a few swipes, the knife broke at the hilt with a dull snap. The shade panted laughter again, then raised its tail and sent it rushing through the air toward the young girl that was latched to its foot. Kainé never had a chance. The tail struck her square in the chest and sent her crashing into the burning wreckage of the home.
Here we go again.
As she lay on the ground with blood pouring from multiple wounds, a small weak voice spoke up.
A bit of physical pain to add your mental anguish.
Keep on a second. Kainé's vision blurred, but she forced herself to focus on the sound. Finally, her eyes clear enough for her to make out the grandmother's hands reaching out for her through the smoke.
Grandma? You gotta run. can't beat him.
That's why she was so, determined when the shade tried to use the poison gas on her. Kainé grabbed the hands on and held on with all her strength.
Grandma, come on, we have to go.
The old woman coughed loudly. One of her hands, slick with blood, slipped from Kainé's grasp and thumped to the ground below.
Grandma, no. No.
No.
I said run, goddammit! You have to live. You have to get through.
The thought would stay forever unfinished. Before she could say another word, the shade-clawed foot descended, smashing through the remains of a roof and down upon the shattered figure of the old woman. Splosh. Blood oozed thickly from the gasps in the creature's toes, as the terrible putrid smell assaulted Kainé's nose once again. Pro tip, guys, never see Akira. That shit's gonna make you vomit for days.
Don't worry.
She
I don't know, this reminds me about the intro to Attack on Titan.
Don't worry, Teo. Steven Universe prepared me well enough for Akira with the cat episodes.
It's too. And while this is going on, the bad guy from Snack World is laughing.
A grandmother, but he cannot take profit from this. Kainé blinked, trying to feel the hands, which had been in hers just a moment before.
I don't know if you can get money from Medusa.
I guess. For a fleeting instant, she could remember the warmth of that embrace, the trembling of the fingers, but then the sensation faded. Memories flashed through Kainé's mind, one after the other, faster and faster, until they became a meaningless jangle of noise. She's basically going apeshit. Kainé screamed then, a thunderous sound that echoed off the cliffs and seemed to roll away forever. The shade eased forward, black ichor powering from its mouth and dissolving into smoke on the ground below. The earth shook with every step as it crept towards its prey. Kainé's body slowly rose as if controlled by a mad puppet master. The puppeteer of doom. Her arms and legs were bent at impossible angles. Her head lolled dangerously to the side, yet somehow she was going. Staring at the shades, her eyes began to glow with a deep red fire. The creature, so confident just moments before, took a slow, hesitant step backward, trying to discern if his broken human could possibly pose a threat.
You pissed off Flora Bailey, that's the worst thing you could do.
Well, you're fucked.
Kainé seized the moment, laughing like a mad woman. She leapt into the air and plunged the shattered hilt of her knife deep into the leg of the shade. There you go, Pedro. She became Jack the Ripper, like Raiden.
Whoa.
The shade shook Kainé off like a fly, sending her crashing to the earth once again. Her chest rose and fell slowly, as if a great weight were resting on it. Moist sounds of pain echoed through her mind. Something warm and thick oozed from her ears.
That blood? I think it is. I think I'm bleeding to death. No, can't die. Grandma told me to live.
Deep inside Kainé's mind, something finally broke. The sound, the pain, the smoke, and the flames, all of it faded away until all that remained was a single incantation repeated over and over again.
Kill it! 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 Kill! Kill! Kill!
It's the character from Fairy Fence Rap. Fantastic.
So this is Ethel's origin story.
As the spark that was Kainé's life slowly began to flicker and die, she felt her desire to kill and her desire to live blend into one. The distance between her heartbeats grew longer and longer and longer. And in the next part, we'll finish this backstory, and thankfully will be the last text experience of the game. See ya.
How lovely.
See ya.
See ya.